Hi everyone, I'm Maggie Frederick, and I'm the project manager on the Thriving Ag Project. This 6-year, $9 million project, funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, began in 2019. The project's goal is to create economically thriving and environmentally friendly agriculture in communities along the rural-urban continuum. The Thriving Ag Project is a partnership between Penn State University, the University of Maryland, Virginia Tech, Ohio State University, George Washington University, Utah State University, and the Stroud Water Research Center. This video will provide a comprehensive view of the project's objectives and considered scenarios. We will delve into the work of the project task teams, key accomplishments to date, and the project's future plans.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave Abler, a professor at Penn State and director of the Thriving Ag Project. The Thriving Ag Project is focused on agriculture in what we call urbanized landscapes. There are multiple demands on land within urbanized landscapes. Farms often sit side by side with housing developments, retail, and office space. Other farms may be located further away from development, but still produce food for nearby urban areas and compete with urban businesses for workers. Many people think of a large, rural Midwestern farm when they hear the word agriculture. But agriculture in urbanized landscapes is also vital. Over 50% of U.S. sales of agricultural products come from farms in metropolitan counties. Compared to rural agriculture, agricultural systems in urbanized landscapes have higher rates of land use change, higher value agricultural products, more diverse mixes of crops and livestock products, more intensive production practices, more products destined for local and regional markets, and better infrastructure, but often limited networks of input suppliers and food processors. The Thriving Ag Project is driven by the hypothesis that agriculture in urbanized landscapes can be both economically thriving and environmentally friendly. Our broad goal is to make this hypothesis a reality within the next 25 years, using the Chesapeake Bay watershed as a case study applicable to other urbanized landscapes around the nation. The project's objectives are: first, engage closely with stakeholders in the case study Chesapeake Bay watershed to envision 25-year futures for agricultural systems in urbanized landscapes that are economically and environmentally sustainable. Second, carry out research in close consultation with stakeholders on markets and supply chains for agricultural productivity gains, and develop tools, models, and analyses to improve productivity and nutrient use efficiency. Third, implement education, outreach, extension, and evaluation plans to spur adoption of the agricultural technologies, management strategies, and tools for policymakers coming out of the project research.
To focus our work in the Thriving Ag Project and to think about the future of agriculture in the case study Chesapeake Bay watershed, we developed 5 scenario storylines. These scenarios present different visions of what the next 25 years could hold.
Our first scenario is a business-as-usual scenario, where current trends in urbanization, agriculture, food consumption, and climate change continue in the Chesapeake Bay watershed over the next 25 years, without any major new solutions to the economic and environmental challenges facing agriculture in the region. Our other 4 scenarios all represent a clear break from the business-as-usual scenario. In our second scenario, farms in the Chesapeake Bay watershed are incentivized to implement best management practices by being paid for how well their practices perform in delivering ecosystem services. Which ecosystem services? The list includes water quality, lower greenhouse gas emissions, downstream flood control, soil health, and wildlife habitat. Payments would come from federal and state conservation programs, state and local tax incentives, and markets where carbon and nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus are traded. In our third scenario, state and local governments in the Chesapeake Bay watershed significantly expand their so-called smart growth policies, farmland preservation programs, zoning, and urban growth boundaries. These policies are designed to maintain the health and environmental integrity of local communities and reduce conversion of farmland to housing and other urban land uses. In our fourth scenario, local consumers embrace the agricultural community and food systems become more localized. Many farmers are younger or those who have transitioned into farming from other careers. Consumer interest and increased market demands for locally grown vegetables and meats allow the agricultural community to diversify their products to include specialty crops and value-added products. Our final scenario is a disruptive dietary shift to plant-based proteins and alternative meats, much like the way that cow's milk alternatives, such as almond milk and soy milk, have become popular with consumers. In the Chesapeake Bay watershed, this disruption could see many poultry, pork, and beef farms suffer to the point where they either exit farming completely or transition to producing crops for the alternative protein market.
We have 16 task teams engaged in a variety of research on the 5 scenarios, including farm nutrient management practices, cover crops, farmland conversion and preservation, consumer demands for local food, blockchain technology, watershed modeling, adoption of best management practices, economic analysis of agricultural and environmental policies, and education and outreach. The task teams are working at geographic scales ranging from farm fields to landscapes, the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and the entire country.
Key accomplishments to date by the 16 task teams span these multiple research topics and geographic scales. I'll mention 6 of these accomplishments. First, a nitrogen decision tool for farmers to improve nitrogen use efficiency, taking into account nitrogen contributions from cover crops and long-term improvements in soil organic matter. Second, development of recommended cover crop mixtures and cover crop planting and termination dates to provide nitrogen to a farm's corn crop, reduce nitrate leaching, add carbon to the soil, and conserve water in the summer. Third, analyses of farm adoption of best management practices, finding that financial incentives are the most effective strategy in promoting adoption, and that photos of best management practices are also a useful tool for engaging with farmers. Fourth, application of an eco-hydrological model called SWOT to analyze livestock manure transportation and application strategies in the Susquehanna River Basin, finding that manure could meet 2/3 of crop phosphorus needs in the basin. Fifth, a big data model to dynamically visualize and analyze flows of nitrogen at different stages of food and agricultural supply chains in Chesapeake Bay watershed counties, finding that nitrogen use efficiency is lowest in livestock farming due to feed waste and manure loss, and highest in food processing. And last, but certainly not least, economic models of consumer demand for local and organic foods in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, finding that people in rural areas are willing to pay more for local foods than people in urban areas, while the opposite is the case for organic foods.
During the next 2 years, the project team plans to complete its ongoing research on new agricultural technologies, management strategies, and policy tools. We plan to continue engaging closely with stakeholders in the Chesapeake Bay watershed and work hard to disseminate our findings through outreach, extension, and education programs. All of this with the goal of helping agriculture and urbanized landscapes to thrive.